Hi, I am Dana K. White. I am the author of several books, including my new one that's coming out. Jesus Doesn't Care About Your Messy House. So, okay, this is the little advanced reader copy. Anyway, this book has come out. I'm sorry, it comes out February 11th, and you can pre-order and get some pre-order bonuses. So, included in the pre-order bonuses are I think it's the first two chapters. I'm not for sure, but it's a preview of the book. Also a 5-day devotional that you can do. And you can get those immediately. When you go to aslobcomesclean.com/Jesus, fill in your order number, whatever that looks like from wherever you purchased. And then you can immediately download. All pre-order bonuses are digital, so you can access them immediately when you go to aslobcomesclean.com/Jesus and get put in your pre-order information. Also with that is going to be some exclusive Q&As for those who pre-order. We're actually going to do 3 different Q&As. So I know that this is not everybody's thing that they usually read about, right? Jesus stuff. So that's one of the reasons why the title is so blunt, because I'm not about baiting and switching, whatever. And so you know what you're getting when you get this book, right? But as the 3 Q&As are going to be divided into, I'm all in, like, yes, into it, yes. And I've got questions like, okay, wait, what? After you read the book, obviously. And then also people who are like, I don't think so. So I want to embrace that. And so we're going to have 3 separate Q&As. So whatever place you are in all of that, obviously only read it if you're interested, but if you're interested in the book and you're like, we've got a Q&A afterwards that that's exclusive to those who pre-order. So go to aslobcomesclean.com/Jesus and put in your pre-order information. You can get it from anywhere, right? Like anywhere that books are sold, it should be there. Somebody said it's not on Chirp yet, but it should be there, and you'll have pre-order information that you can enter there. Okay, I am going to be only taking questions live today because I am in interviews all day about this book. And so I just had to run on here really quickly after I did one. Other thing too, though, that I want to make sure you know about is that this is the last week that Take Your House Back is on sale. So go to aslobcomesclean.com/take if you want to grab that before the sale is over. We do have an all-day declutter this Saturday for members of the Take Your House Back course. So if you haven't joined that yet, go to aslobcomesclean.com/take. You can join it. I believe we are focusing on kitchens and living areas on Saturday. So I will do an hour, Cass will do an hour, Dawn will do an hour, and then we'll do an hour together at lunch, and then we'll each do another hour. And it's a lot of fun. Like people love it. I am always really big on the value of what you're going to learn is in the course itself. But these days are just high energy, get a lot of stuff done. If you're not able to actually be there on Saturday, they will be recorded and in the course. And so you can go watch it whenever you want. A lot of times people just watch those videos randomly here and there for some inspiration and to stay focused. But yeah, I think you're going to love it. So aslobcomesclean.com/take in case you want to get in on that. Okay, I will take questions from those of you who are watching live. I don't know if anybody's asked a question yet or not. Yay, you can hear me. Yay, thank you, Ladybug. I appreciate that. Go ahead and re-ask a question, or go ahead and ask a question and put question marks at the beginning of your question so that I am able to see that. But yeah, I would love to hear from you, like how your decluttering is going. I know that it's January, and so people are like, oh, January is the big month. And I'm like, yeah, but the biggest part of January for decluttering is actually the last week in December into that first week in January. So if you are starting to feel a little like, okay, I'm kind of losing the energy that I had about decluttering, it's okay. It's normal. Remember, that's the extra value of using the no mess process, is that even when you have big decluttering energy, I feel like it's even more important to use the no mess process, my 5-step no mess process, because so many times we're like, oh, I have lots of energy. It's going to be different this time. I'm going to pull everything out. And then that energy fizzles and it can be so incredibly defeating, right? And so it's more important to use the no mess process so that with whatever energy you have, and if you have big energy, you're going to make big progress. But we make progress and only progress by going item by item. Okay. All right. Thank you. Yay. Howdy from Houston. God bless you, Dana. Excited for the book. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay. Question. You had a podcast recently. We're answering a question on getting to garden gloves by getting through all the stuff that's there first. Can you talk more on this, please? Thanks. Yes. So I record my podcast ahead of time, so I don't actually know exactly what you're talking about, but but I can talk about it because this is, same thing, right? Yeah. So if you are putting away garden gloves in the place where you would look for it first, like let's say you run across garden gloves as you're decluttering, because those are one of those things that just randomly, in my house at least, one is over here and one is over here, right? So as you're decluttering, you ask yourself the question, where would I look first for garden gloves? And you go put it in that spot. And let's say that there's a bunch of stuff that is in front of where you would look first for that garden glove. So you're like, oh, I would look for it in my garage next to my potting bench. I think that's really, I'm not enough of a gardener to know, but I think I've heard that, like, where you do your putting things together, whatever. So my bench over here, that's where I would look first for it. And so you go to that and you're like, okay, well, I would look first for it in that drawer right there. But there is all this clutter, all this stuff here in front of that. And I can't even get to that drawer because there is all this kind of stuff in front of it. You're going to get it the goal would be to get it as close as you possibly can to that drawer without pulling everything out, without making a bigger mess. Okay. Because that's where we end up having, I used to think I was decluttering and I was like, why am I never making any progress in my home? I work here and then this space kind of gets all blah, blah, blah. And then I take something over here and then this space gets all blah, blah, whatever. So instead, we're going to put it as close as we can to the place where we look for it first. And we're not going to leave this space any worse. So if there is stuff sitting in front of your potting bench, assuming that's a real thing, if there is stuff on the floor, okay, yes, this space needs to be decluttered too. Absolutely. Of course it does. For me, I had every space in my house needed to be decluttered. So, okay, like every space, this was an issue everywhere I went, right? I never made progress when I would do a little bit here and then a little bit here and a little bit here. So my goal is to keep decluttering in the space where I found these gardening gloves, right? That is the goal. That's where I'm working. So I take it to this place where I would look for it first. Yes, this is a disaster. It needs to be decluttered. I just said there's stuff all over the floor. Therefore, it needs to be decluttered. Because I use the no mess process anyway, with progress and only progress, it makes sense to me, right? To go, I'm not going to leave this space any worse than it was. What can I remove from this space that is either trash or an obvious donation? Ideally, it's either trash or an obvious donation, because the trash bag and the recycling bin, if I have one, and the donate box, the donatable donate box, are back at the space where I was working, where I found the gardening glove, right? So there's gonna be trash and obvious donations in this pile, because stuff has to leave my house, because my house is at a point where I can't even get to my potting bench because there's so much junk in front of the potting bench, right? Stuff has to leave my house. Trash is the best way for stuff to leave my house, because there's nothing to do but stick it in the trash or the recycling, right? So that mentality of knowing things have to leave my house because this is a disaster. Also, I'm going to get this as close as I can. I'm not going to leave any worse by removing something. If I can remove, if the garden glove is by definition the same size as my hand, but I can remove, oh, actually, there's an entire box here and another box here that are empty, or here's the packaging from the potting soil. Why does saying this make me want to speak with a British accent? I have no idea, but it does. Anyway, this 3 bags from potting soil that are actually empty. Okay, like I could take an entire armful of trash back, or I could just take one thing that's the same size as what I left there. That means that something from my house has gone in the trash or the donatable donate box. My house is an object less. My house has been decluttered. It's not finished, but decluttering has happened. Something has left my house, right? Therefore, my whole house overall is one step forward in the decluttering process, right? And I'm not just, because when I don't do that, what I do is I'm like, oh, a garden glove, I'm going to go take it to the place where I would look for it first. Oh, there's nothing. I'm just going to pile it on top of the pile and pile on top of the pile and pile. That's stuff shifting, right? Because I'm not actually making any hard decisions. Sometimes I go, gardening glove. Okay, I'm going to go put it here. What am I going to get rid of? And I go, wait a minute. This is the gardening glove that has holes in every single finger. And I actually don't know why I haven't already thrown this away. Because as I'm starting to look at it going, well, what am I willing to get rid of to make space for this? Then it reveals itself as the thing that needs to go, but something has to go. Okay, let's see. My stomach is growling. Okay. Lisa says, used a pull it all out method, failure, went back to your method. Oh, it works. Yes, it really, really does. Okay. How do you declutter a room full of stuff? I love this question. Okay. So my 5-step decluttering process, let me make sure you know it is in Decluttering at the Speed of Life, Organizing for the Rest of Us, 2 of my books. You can get a printable of the 5-step process at aslobcomesclean.com/5. And that is a great thing to print out and have next to you so that you can, work through that. Did this go back to no, it just took it away. Let's see. I lost my thing. What was it? Oh, how do you declutter a room full of stuff? Okay. So let's say that this room is like, I'm just going to go with the extreme. Let's say it's chin high. Like when you say full of stuff, some people are thinking some extra things. Some of us I know are thinking chin high, right? Like I literally can't even walk in the room because of that. What I'm going to do, I am not going to pull everything out. That is a recipe for disaster, especially for a room that is chin high. Because if I pull everything out of a room that's chin high, my whole house that maybe was okay-ish before is now got stuff on every surface, right? So what I'm going to do is I've got a black trash bag and a recycling bin, only if you already have one, and a donatable donate box, preferably a real big donatable donate box or multiple of them, okay? I'm going to have those and I'm going to stand at the doorway. And just like we were talking about before, if I have a room that is truly chin high full of stuff has to leave my house. It is not a matter of organization. There is no organizing system in the world that is actually going to let me organize all this stuff. It's not possible. Oh my word, there's a fly. Golly, there are like 1,000 dead flies outside my office. And one isn't dead anymore. Isn't dead. Well, isn't dead, and he's somehow made it in here. Okay, so there is no organizing system. It is things have to leave my house. The easiest way for things to leave my house is to go out in the trash or the recycling, right? So I've got my trash. The first thing I'm going to do is look for trash. Only the trash that I can see and access from where I can stand. If I'm outside the door and I somehow got the door open and it's chin high, then I'm going to go, but I'm also going to go real hard on trash because there's so much stuff in this room, right? And so I'm going to get those things, put them in the trash. If there's any obvious donations, I'm going to get those and put them in there, put them in the donate box, right? And I'm going to do that without pulling everything out. And then I'm going to go, is there anything easy? Is there anything that goes somewhere else in the house that I already know what to do with? I'm going to go ahead and get those out. You are going to have to go hard on the trash, easy stuff and done. And then as you can keep moving, okay, through the space, you're just going to, be able to move a little bit farther and get a little more. But yeah, let's see. No, I do not have any tips. Oh, ant tips. Are ants scared of spiders? I'm just kidding. Any tips for overcoming fear of spiders when decluttering the basement? No, I have no tips because that is horrifying. I also get it. And I would say do whatever you have to do. Like, I think it's an organizing for the rest of us. I have because a lot of times the germophobia and messy bathrooms strangely go together because, you tend to, and I'm not saying I'm not giving like an official scientific definition of germophobia. Okay. I'm not saying that, but a lot of times I'm so grossed out at the thought of touching gross things that I would rather not touch gross things to clean it. And so I'm like, wear the gloves and the, long sleeve shirt and the, tape the gloves to the long sleeve, like create your own hazmat suit to be able to go down, whatever you have to do it, you might have to do that. Okay. But I would also say that for me, a lot of times when I get into a situation like that, I'm like, do I really want to shake this item out? Or would I rather, do I feel like I can do it more easily by sticking it in the trash? Right? Like, do I really want to shake this item out to get spiders out? Or do I just want to do that? The other thing to do would, my husband will say I shouldn't say this. Anyway, never mind. Okay. I was going to say, like, get a shop vac and get in there and, but I probably shouldn't say that. Okay. How to declutter when I dream of having less stuff, but when I'm faced with which items to get rid of, I feel like I love everything and don't want to part with it, specifically with clothes. Follow the process. Follow my 5-step process. Now, here's one of the things. I never know how familiar y'all are with my stuff. Okay. Like, I don't know some of y'all's names I will recognize, occasionally, usually in the moment, that's not where my brain is. So I don't know. Have you read all of my books? Do you know the 5-step process? Do you listen to the podcast? Do you watch the videos, whatever? Or did you just randomly see, oh, somebody's talking about decluttering? I'm not sure. But here's the thing. What you're experiencing, I totally understand, right? This is me. And this is why I am against having minimalism be your goal. Okay. For me, for my people, I think it's a great goal if it works for you. I have a video on that. Like, should minimalism be the goal? If it works for you, absolutely. But what happens with me, and I'm telling you, I still have to do this, right? Like, I will in my brain, because you're saying I dream of having less stuff. I will in my brain maybe be somewhere else, or like I'm staying at somebody else's house, or I'm in someone else's house, or I'm just in bed one night and I'm like, okay, I'm really tired of this. Like, I'm really tired of whatever space it is that's been driving me bananas. You know what? I just want to not have anything there. I want it to be completely clear of stuff. That's what I want. Yes, I have made this big decision in my life. I am just going to change. And I just want to do that. And then I get to the space and I'm like, okay, all right, I'm going to get rid of, oh, but there's that. Oh, forgot that was here. Oh, but there's that. Oh, and then I'm stuck, right? Like, I feel like that's what you're saying. So follow the process, because the first 3 steps are by definition emotion-free. Okay. You feel like you love everything and don't want to part with it. I get that. When you look at a massive stuff and you know that you love a lot of that stuff, like when you're just looking at the massive stuff and you're like, what can I declutter? You're gonna see and fixate on the stuff that you love. Okay. By starting with trash, it gives you permission to say, I'm not gonna worry about that stuff right now. It gets to stay for right now. Is there anything in here that is actually trash? Not that I'm deciding is trash, not that I love it, but my mom would say it's trash. I'm not talking about that. Is there any obvious trash? Even if there's no trash, there's always trash. Even if there's no trash. Looking for trash helps me start to see what all I'm dealing with. And it's not all stuff that I love, right? So I know you may not believe that, but I promise. So you do that. You get the non-emotional, it just needs to be thrown away out of there. It's a little bit less. I'm feeling a little bit different about this space when I come back because I'm less overwhelmed. Then I go with the easy stuff. Is there anything that I already know what to do with? It already does have an established home somewhere else. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm burpy. excuse me. I'm going to get that stuff out of here. I'm going to go take it to the place where I already know it should go. And then the next step is obvious donations. Is there anything in here that is obviously something that I could donate, right? Because sometimes when you're like, your brain is like, I'll do that later because it's obvious I can donate that. And you're just so fixated on this thing, but get that out of there and it starts to build that momentum. And then you ask yourself the question, if I needed this item, where would I look for it first? So I'm not saying, can I get rid of this? How much do I love it? How important is it to me? I'm not doing that. I'm saying, where would I look for it first? And then I take it to that place and I say, is there any space for it here? If there's not, then I have to remove something. Do I love it enough to remove something? Because here's the thing. So many times you're like, oh, I love this item. Oh my word, I love this item. Well, you get to that space where you would look for it first. And you're like, oh, I love this. And you're like, okay, well, there's no room. What am I willing to get rid of? Okay, actually, I don't love this as much as I thought I did, right? Like your first reaction might be that, but the other thing is if you really love it, then you get rid of it. You're like, okay, I love this blanket that my grandma made so much, right? Like I love this thing. And I take it to the place where I would look for it first and it's full. And I go, okay, even though I may not ever use this blanket that my grandma made because it's, I don't know, whatever reason, scratchy. I may not ever use this, but I love it. And I would look for it here first. You know what? There are 5 super fuzzy blankets here that I absolutely love. But the reality is I'm willing to get rid of 2 of them to make room for this. Because actually, now that I think about it that way of space having a limit and a definition, then when I think of it that way, I realize, okay, actually, I'll be fine with the 3 that I keep. And then that gives me room to keep this, right? So it allows you to feel all the feelings. I am not asking you to not feel emotions. My process doesn't use emotions because I need to be able to feel the emotions. But anyway, also read the book. Okay, let's see. Love the feeling of living with less, but have real issues with regret. I can remember almost everything I have decluttered and live with the guilt. How do you learn to completely let go? You may not. I can't tell you that, okay, you'll hit this point and then you won't ever feel that regret anymore. Focus on loving the feeling of living with less. Here's the thing. People whose homes consistently stay under control choose to live with regret over clutter. It's a choice. You love living with less, but you feel regret. You say, I am willing to feel regret in order to experience living with less. A friend of mine, I think I wrote about this in one of my books, but my friend, I was at her house and she was, I don't remember. Some of y'all have just read the book and you're going to know that I'm telling the story wrong. This is how I remember it in this moment. It was something about like this chair and she was getting rid of it or something. And I said something about like, I want to get rid of this chair. I don't know. Anyway, and I was like, I want to get rid of it, but I'm like, as soon as I get rid of it, I know that I'm going to, figure out the perfect place where I could have kept it because I love that chair. And she was like, oh yeah, that happens to me all the time. And I was like, what? So people who get rid of stuff and keep their houses decluttered, it's not because they don't feel the feelings. They just go, I feel that, but I want to have my space and have my house under control. So, how do you organize your schedule and stay on top of your to-dos? Just keeping track of it all. Do you use digital reminders, digital calendar, etc.? I use Google Calendar like nobody's business, and I have it synced on my phone. Only problem is you have to put things into the calendar on the Google Calendar because my phone doesn't sync back to my Google Calendar. There might be a way to do it, and I've never figured it out because I've never actually tried to figure it out. But I have to put things in there, and I will tell you that if it's not on my calendar, my team knows this. If it's not on my calendar I have it set to automatically give me alerts. So it sends me the day before. It'll be like tomorrow at this time, you have an interview with so-and-so. Okay, great. And then it will send it to me again 30 minutes before. So that's just automated already. And my team knows that if things are in red, that's not the stuff that automatically sends me an alert. And therefore, I'm going to forget. All right, let's see. Late diagnosed ADHD, 51, mom of 4 here. Any advice specific to ADHD life plus decluttering household management? Yes. I have never been diagnosed by anyone except for all of y'all, right? But y'all tell me that I have it because my methods work exceptionally well for those with ADHD. So yes, following the no mess method is extremely important with ADHD. Okay. It feels like I'm going to get distracted when I take it there now, but the reality is you're going to get distracted anyway. And so to do things in a way where even when I get distracted, I'm going to stop trying to not be me. Okay. Because that's the problem, right? So many times it's like, I've got to push through. I'm just going to be different. I'm just going to be different than I've ever been before. And I'm not going to get distracted in the middle of this project. Instead, do things in a way where you're like, okay, if life happens and I get distracted, I'm using the no mess method. I'm going item by item, final decision by final decision, acting on those final decisions so that when it happens, when I get distracted, I am only better. That shift changes everything. The other thing too is household management is easier the less stuff that you have. Let's see. Okay. My parents have 2 houses, one full of stuff and one they moved into because they couldn't handle the first. Over a year and no progress on cleaning out the first. There looks like there's more to this question. They have every excuse. How can I help? Yeah, I mean, the issue is just to, I'm not going to say just because it's a big, huge, daunting thing that you're doing, right? So, if there is a backlog in the house that they moved out of things that should have maybe been done daily, like laundry and dishes and all that, which some people are thinking probably like, what? No, that's probably not what she's saying. But a lot of times in situations like this, where somebody gets so overwhelmed that they go to a different house because they just can't deal with that one, it often that is part of the issue. I would start with doing dishes and catching up on all of that. Okay. So that, because that's the problem. It's like, well, I need to do all this, but I got to do this first. Do the first things, right? For them. The other thing would be to use the process. Like start with the trash. You know, somebody here recently, and I think this was actually good advice, and I know I'm also advertising here too, but like, y'all know I have decluttering coaches, right? Yeah. Declutteringcoaches.com is my website. Everybody there is trained and certified by me. Okay. In my method. Somebody had suggested in a situation like this, they were like, you know, there is that whole parent-child thing. The parent doesn't really want to be, you know, told by the child what to do. And so there's those dynamics. It might be better to hire a decluttering coach to help with this. But as far as this goes, like, sorry, I took the question down. Dang it. Happens every time. Use the process. So it takes time for them to trust the process and to trust you. So, you know, going into the old house and saying, okay, all we're going to do today is if we find any trash, and if they're like, no, my stuff's not trash, you're like, oh, no, I know it's not. I know it's not. But if you happen to find any trash, we're just going to look and see if there's some trash that we've missed, right? And go in and like, you're building trust by doing that. And also getting rid of the trash in a situation like that is going to be incredibly powerful. Okay, is there anything in here that we already know what to do? And I know that there's this mentality of like, okay, just pick the few things that go in there, but it doesn't sound like we're in a situation where necessarily they're going to be ready for that at this point. Is there anything that we already know what to do? Okay, but remember, everything that we take out of that house to put into the new house It needs to be okay, well, we need to get the pots and pans. Okay, well, you've got pots and pans in the new house. So are we going to, do you love these enough to get rid of those that we have room for it? But, try that and then go with the obvious donations just to start clearing things out, because those first 3 steps, especially trash and obvious donations, help make some progress with zero pressure. And I know it's going to feel like there's pressure, but really go with trusting their answers. Believe their answers. So don't say, this is trash. Instead, just be like, do you see any trash? Okay, a couple. Okay, so you don't see any more trash? Okay, go on to the next one. Even though inside you might be going, I cannot believe they don't see that that's trash. Move to the next step. It's so important. And everything goes, where would you look for this first? In your new house. And then it may be a slow process of going through, okay, well, let's go to your new house and let's take it to the place where you said you would look for it first. And okay, this is, there's no room for it here. What are you willing to get rid of? Try to work through that process. So I would say as you're doing that, because you can't obviously, I don't know where it is, but you don't want to go item, take it there now, drive 30 minutes, blah, 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 blah. We don't want to do that. But I would say keep it to a very, very, very small minimum. Like, this is all we're going to do today. We're just fill up this box with stuff that you can answer where you would look for it first in your new one. You might want to write that down, get it to the new house, and go take it there now. And the more that they do that, and the more they start to understand, oh, there's no room for it here, then it's going to make it easier to get rid of stuff on the other end again. I know that's a really tough situation though. Let's see. I have an older home and I would need to rebuild closets or add space to put things. No closet near the tiny bathroom with the shower, etc. What do I do? Expensive to build. Declutter. Before you even think about adding on rooms or anything, go through the decluttering process as best you can in the spaces that you already have, right? Like it says, rebuilding closets. So go with the closet as it is and declutter, because the thing is, the first 3 steps are getting things out that have no business being there anyway, right? And so you're getting, or really all the way into the 4th step, you're getting things out of there that don't need to be in this space, because if you're going to rebuild, you don't want to be designing it to hold trash and obvious donations and things you would never look for in there first anyway, right? And so go ahead through the decluttering process. What will happen 9 times out of 10, or maybe 9.7 times out of 10, I'm just making that up, it's not real, but I'm just saying, like, this is my experience anecdotally. What will happen most of the time is that you realize, oh, actually, this space is fine. Because the real truth about getting your house under control is accepting the reality of the house where you live. The house where you live is the house where you live. If you don't have the money to rebuild the closets, then you need to declutter. You may need to have a lot less stuff to be able to function in the actual house that you have. Okay. All these are like quick answers to what can be questions that majorly weigh on your heart. Okay. So I don't want to act like, oh, just do this and you'll be fine. I know it's a process, but that is the process. Let's see. What are my plans for my garden this year? Did I get enough okra last year? No, I did not get enough okra. There's no such thing as enough okra. I'm the worst at gardening. Here's the problem. And this is just the container concept and how it works out in real life, right? The people who we bought our house from had a humongous, amazing garden with barbed wire fence around it to keep the cows out, and all that didn't work that great because they got in and got my green beans that first year. Anyway, and so I have such a hard time. I'm like, I know I can't handle all this, but I just have all this space to plant stuff. And so I plant things and then it gets out of control and the okra dies. I did better last year, but I didn't do great. So my plans are just, here's my plans. Although I know I will change my mind when I get to the garden center. Okra and only okra. Like, I want to just focus on okra. And no, there's no such thing as enough. Advice for a depressed full-time working mom with 3 children, with 2 of them are high-functioning autistic. It's hard for me to keep anything in order as my schedule changes every week. The house is messy already. First of all, you are in a challenging time. Okay. So I just want to acknowledge that, and you're in a challenging situation for sure. Okay. The thing that will for sure help is decluttering, right? But I know that it feels like there's no time to declutter when you're in this life stage, right? Therefore, it is all the more important to use the no mess method. Okay. So if you have not read Decluttering at the Speed of Life, get it on an audiobook. It's available on all the audiobook platforms. Most libraries carry it, and a lot of libraries also have it in their digital thing. There usually are holds on it because it's not just everybody can listen to it at the same time. Like they only have a certain number of digital copies. But as you are driving to work every day, just listen to that book. And I think it's going to help you understand the mindset shifts and the actual practical solutions for how to get there. But if you will focus on using the no mess method, which means you're never making a bigger mess, which means you can work for any amount of time that you have available. So if you have 3 children, 2 of them are high functioning autistic, part of the issue is it's like constant needs, right? Like you're needed all the time and you don't feel like you can have just uninterrupted time to work on this. So doing things in a way where anytime that I have any energy that I have, any whatever I've got, I know for sure I'm going to make progress, even though it's only 2 items going in the trash, but I'm going to celebrate that progress. Like that is powerful. So I would listen to Decluttering the Speed of Life, and I would make sure that you've got the printable at aslobcomesclean.com/5. But I'm sorry, I know it's a huge, huge struggle time. Okay. Currently decluttering my mother and grandmother's photos and family documents. I am doing the 1 hour better, and that's fine. Not fine. What then to do with all the items? Suggestions. Yes. If you needed your mother and grandmother's photos, where would you look for them first? And family documents, where would you look for them first? Take it there now and acknowledge, okay, like if I'm picturing my own photo space, right? Like I have a space. This is where I look first for the photos, and it's getting kind of full at this point. So if I brought in a whole bunch of other photos and that's where I would look for it first, then I have to go, okay, how much of this space am I willing to devote to my mother and grandmother's photos and documents, right? And then that space, whether it's a box this big or it's a cabinet this big or whatever, it's a shelf of a closet, it's the entire, whatever space it is that you're going to do that with, that is the space that determines how much of this stuff you can keep. Okay. That doesn't then take up the space that you need for your actual everyday life for your family that's living in your home right now. Right. So that, like, let's say it's a box this size, just knowing there's a limit will naturally sort out which things are more important and which things are less important. Right. I'm not saying it's easy, but it becomes an issue of this is the box that I have that fits in the space that I have that I can devote to this stuff. And everything has to earn its place in there. So as I go through things, I'm like, is this worthy of space in there? And that will help sort that out. But it's a challenge for sure. Okay. I can get used to so-called established homes as a habit, but really struggle with setting up established homes to begin with. I am missing that part of my brain and it's blank. Any advice? Absolutely, because I am the same way. My advice is to not come up with a great place, because that is how people end up saying things like, I got organized and now I can't find anything, right? Which is actually the opposite of being organized. Instead, identify where the item needs to live according to, if I needed this item, where would I look for it first? Now, if your first answer is, oh, I would look for it on the coffee table that's covered in crap stuff, sorry, then that is like, the goal is that coffee table not be covered in stuff, right? And so we take that out of the equation and we go, where would I look for this item first? And then we take it there now and we give it a home there. We're like, well, there's no room for it here. I got to get rid of something else to make the room for it. That is how you do that. I have a video on this, like how to find a place for everything. will explain what I mean here. Let's see. Okay, just want to definitely say one more time. My new book, Jesus Doesn't Care About Your Messy House, is available for pre-order right now. Wherever books are sold, you can get pre-order bonuses, which includes a 5-day devotional and a, preview of the book. I think it's the first 2 chapters. I'm not for sure. And also, I will be doing Q&As after the book comes out, after you've had like a week or 2 to read it. I'll be doing some Q&As for those, just for those who have pre-ordered, right? So you have to pre-order to be part of that. They're all digital. They do not come with the book. Like, the only way that I know that you pre-ordered the book is for you to go fill out the form at aslobcomesclean.com/Jesus. When you fill out that form, you will immediately get access to the pre-order bonuses, right? Because they're all digital. They get delivered by email. That is how you get those. So they're digital. There's nothing physical. They don't come with the book. They come when you go to aslobcomesclean.com/Jesus, where you fill out your information and then you get that. So anyway, this comes out February 11th. I'm very excited about it. Yes, it's a book about Jesus. That's why it's in the title, right? Because I don't want you to be like, wait a minute, I thought this book was about decluttering. It is about taking the shame away, right? Because that's a huge part of the process for a lot of us, especially Christian women who, right or wrong, have been told or have just heard when somebody was saying something else that this was supposed to be easy, and then it's not easy for us. And then that can cause a lot of spiritual shame and guilt. And so I want to take all that away by diving into what the Bible really says. And also I talk about, things that I've had the opportunity to learn about God through just the reality of how clutter and cleaning and all that works. And being able to learn things through that makes me not necessarily excited to have this struggle, but grateful for it. Like, if it helps me understand God more. So anyway, make sure you get that. Don't forget to, other thing, I know I'm advertising so much, but the Take Your House Back course, the sale ends Friday. So go ahead and do it today. aslobcomesclean.com/take. That is my link. And you can join the course. And then we're going to have the all-day declutter on Saturday. This Saturday, the 18th. Dawn from Minimal Mom and Cass from Clutterbug and I lead this course, and we will each do an hour in, I believe it's the kitchen. I am helping you clean out your pantry. And we'll do those 3 hours, and then we'll have a lunch all together, and then we'll do living areas. I'm not sure, that might be flip-flopped, switched. We'll do living areas where we each guide you through decluttering in those spaces. If those are spaces that you've already decluttered, all the principles are the same, right? So you just work on another house. The energy that happens on those all-day declutters is so powerful. Like, just the fact that it is a group of invested people who are using these same strategies and who are excited to be decluttering literally all over the world. People love it. Okay. Let's see. We are moving. Oh, what a pretty sunset picture. We are moving soon. I don't know where to start. I always stuff shift. Help. What do I do? I have a video that is my top 3 tips for moving. Here's the main thing I would say to keep from stuff shifting. Always, when you have a moving box, have a trash bag and a donatable donate box right there with it. Okay. And when you have that, things need to either go into the moving box, the trash, or the donatable donate box, right? So that you've got those things. It's as easy to put it in the trash or the donate box as it is to put it in the moving box. Also, the moving box is your container, right? So do buy your boxes. Don't think of it as, oh, I'll just pack up all my stuff and keep getting more boxes until I can pack it all up. No, think of that as the container, as the limit to what you're going to take, so that things have to earn their way into the moving box. Let's see. Don't they have gadgets to pick up big bugs? I don't know, but that would be something to look for sure. Let's see. Here's someone saying, are you part of the Take Your House Back course yet? That's something I definitely recommend if you need help on your decluttering journey. That's not even me saying that, right? That's Sarah saying that. See, people love, love, love this course. So go to aslobcomesclean.com/take and sign up for the course, and then go through as much as you can, and then come on Saturday and you're going to have so much energy. All right. Coming from that. Just finished your Audible book, loved it, and picked up my phone to set a 5-minute timer. Thought I'd check if I could follow you on Facebook, and here you are live. Yay, I love it. Please share your experiences with how spouse wants control over your new process. I am only decluttering my things. He is already tidy. Okay, so I don't have experience with this because my husband is extremely easygoing on stuff like this, and just anyway. So I'm not saying like I have the same experience, but I will say, if he's already tidy, it's very likely that a lot of this stuff comes very naturally to him, and you've had to learn it, through following my stuff. The main thing I would do is really make sure that you are following the no mess process, okay? Because the no mess process means things are being decluttered and you're not creating a big old chaotic mess in order to declutter, which is what I always thought you had to do to declutter. Because most people be like, oh, well, the first step of decluttering is pull everything out of the space. Well, I would do that. And so I think that my family would have this reaction to, oh my word, here she goes again. She's decluttering. Like, it would cause so much bananas in our house that it was like the criticism was, they weren't necessarily critical, but I'm just saying, like, oh no, here she goes again. This never ends well. It always is stressful for everybody. It always drags on and on and on and on and on, and things are spread everywhere. Like, it was warranted, right? Because I'd done that. So really zero in on making sure that you are following my 5-step no mess decluttering method. You can get that at aslobcomesclean.com/5. It's in the books, obviously. Other thing to do would be maybe read Decluttering at the Speed of Life, or have it on Audible while y'all go on a trip, so they can. The reason I say that is I've heard from a lot of people who will tell me that they listen to it with their spouse, and the spouse would be like, this sounds just like you. And then the spouse is understanding, oh, these are the things that are helpful for you. Let's see. Love it. I'm doing the self-guided Take Your House Back course. I just did a 26-hour marathon closed decluttering session. Oh, today I dropped 6 garbage bags at the thrift shop. I'm exhausted, but so proud. Look at you. That's amazing. That's awesome. So yeah, Take Your House Back is self-paced. It's self-paced. Yes, we have the all-day declutters like 3-ish times a year. But the actual course itself to learn how to take your house back is completely self-paced. Okay. Decluttering while husband is deployed. I keep skipping his stuff, but it is adding up and he is gone a while. Should all go in one spot or just keep going around it? So if he's deployed, I would, and all of this take a grain of salt with how your relationship is and all that kind of stuff. But what I would say, since he's not there right now, and I don't know how long he's gone, would be like, when he comes home, if he asks me, where is my such and such, I'm going to put it in the place where I would look for it first, and go ahead and put those in those places. Now, if he has very established home for some things, then that. But if it's like, this is a pile of stuff or a closet where we've all just shoved things, then as you're removing things out of there, like if he was to ask me, where's my such and stuff, where is the first place where I would look for it, and then go take it there. Let's see. Judy says, there is always trash. Should be on a bracelet around my wrist, but not a tattoo. That makes me laugh. Okay. Dana, if I ever start the process and think there's no trash, I loud whisper like Dana, there's always trash. Yes, exactly. I should do like a button thing. Have you seen those dog talking things where you push a button? There should be like a button that says, there's always trash. And another button that says, take it there now, right? And another one that says, do the dishes. Let's see. Let's see. I already feel all the things about the stuff. Dana's method helps me realize what's important. I'd rather live with less as I already feel regret over how my family lives in a mess. That's a great perspective. Thank you for sharing that. Am I allowed to ask a question in the chat, or are they pre-asked questions? Today was all chat questions. I generally, and I say generally, but I think I've done it this way the last several times. I generally will take pre-asked questions that are asked at askdanakWhite.com. There's a link in the description here for the first half, and then I always take questions from people watching live for the second half. But this is all this time. But I'm also about to have to be done because I got to do another one here in just a minute. Let's see. I'm going to take one more question. We're going to kind of random. Dana, as an ADHD mom, I'd be proud to accept you as our spokesperson because you never give up on yourself. And when you might feel discouraged, you reach out and lean on our care. I love it. I love it. Thank you. Judy says, I'm not a coach, but I did Dana's method with my stepmom, and it was glorious. She's truly amazing to begin with, but with Dana's way, we knocked it out of the park. Thank you so much for sharing that. You are talking about the 5-step process. Okay, here's my last question. And it's the person asking if they could ask questions live. I am a flipper. I'm assuming you mean house flipper, right? How do I separate my work from my personal while not feeling indifference to letting personal items go while keeping items like old stuff that I will eventually flip? Oh, you flip like thrift finds and things like that. Okay. And I will say I was an eBay-er, probably before the term flipper. But I would buy things at garage sales or thrift stores and I would sell it on eBay, right? And that was how we survived. You know, it's basically our only fun money that we ever had when my kids were little. So I get it, totally get it. I also let it take over my house, and it sent me to rock bottom and caused me to start a blog called The Slob Comes Clean. So I also get how much of a struggle it is. So the advice that I have is to define the space where you would look first for your stuff that you're going to sell. Okay. That space is the space for that. Like, where would I look first for it? If it's a closet or whatever, it might be something that you have to declutter in order to have a space for that. Like, I'm going to declutter this closet so that I can put my stuff that I'm going to sell there. And then everything has to earn its space in there. Right. So as you come up with more stuff, it's like, as you bring more stuff home, and that space is full. Well, something has to leave for that. So, you know, if you're a flipper, that you have, not everything sells, right? Like, you are sure that something's going to sell and it doesn't. That's how things get out of control. So you are like, which is the thing? Oh, you know what? I've listed that 4 times. It's never sold. It has to go because of the space. You blame the space for that. But that is a really short answer to a very, very challenging question. So again, I do recommend that you read Decluttering at the Speed of Life, available at most libraries, anywhere books are sold, in all the different formats. They all exist. So last thing, remember, right? Wait. Pre-order my new book, right? Pre-order that. You can get immediately. You will get to download when you fill out your pre-order information here at aslobcomesclean.jesus. You will immediately get to download a 5-day devotional, a preview of the book, and then after the book comes out, you'll be invited to the Q&As that we have for that. And then also take your house back. The sale ends on Friday, and our all-day declutter is on Saturday. So if you want to find out more about what that's all about, go to aslobcomesclean.com/take. All right, this has been fun, and I will talk to y'all next week. Bye.